Welcome back to Rachel's Whimsical Arts, and I am Miss Rachel, and we are going to talk about and learn how to draw a dragonfly. And in the last few videos I've shown you how to draw some beetles. We did drawing and then we did some color with paints, watercolor paints. And we also talked about how to draw a butterfly and then how to transform your drawing into a painting with watercolors. So this one is going to be about dragonflies, and the fun thing about dragonflies is they transform. It's really fun to see how they change from their nymph into a dragonfly naiad and then into a dragonfly hunter. So bugs, I know some people don't like bugs, but I think they are awesome and they are helpful for our nature, growing things, gardens, flowers, trees, everything, you know, in our earth. We need them, and they are inspiring and fun to draw and color because they have so many different colors. Some of them look iridescent, like jewels and gems. And there's even a beetle out there called a jewel beetle. That's kind of the colors I was going for with this one. So for the first step, before you get to this detailed drawing of the wings, which take a lot of time, we will need to start with a piece of paper. Now this paper that I have, it's not very large. You could do it on larger paper in your art journal or something. This paper is just, it's 6 by 7 inches. So if you have an art journal that's bigger than that, that would be fine. The first thing that I do is, with my paper, whatever I choose to do it with, I'm gonna start with this step here. I'm gonna start with a ruler or something straight to get to the center of my drawing. Okay, so the center of my drawing, you can use a ruler and you can just measure this way. This is 6 inches across, so 3 inches is in the middle. And I did a mark on each side. So I put like a little line right here and a line here to mark the 3 inches. The reason I did that is because I'm going to take my ruler and draw lightly a straight line from one mark to the next, so it's straight across. And this is going to be my middle. So then after I do that, I'm going to start with the body. So there's 2 sections to the body when you look at them in the books or when you look at them online. We have this long, this is a little wider than the body, but there's this long oval. It's more like an elliptical shape actually. And then, I'm using it on, I'm drawing it directly on the line so it stays symmetrical and even on both sides. Then from this bottom of this oval part, I'm going to draw another oval, but this one is going to be wider at the top and longer also, and it's going to be narrower at the bottom. So in a way, if you were to turn this upside down, it looks like a teardrop, a really long, elongated teardrop. Okay, so here's how I did that. Now I'm drawing it a little bit bigger so you can see the steps. And I'm drawing with my pencil pretty heavy. You could draw lighter. As you can see on this one, this is drawn pretty lightly. So it will be easier to erase any of those things that you need to fix. Okay, so now that I've explained this, I realize this is a little bit too long. So I'm gonna make the body a little bit shorter. So now that you've gotten the body down, you want to do the eyes. So the eyes, and I'm just going to erase this line above it so you can see it better when I draw the other parts. The eyes are kind of cool. First you want to draw, imagine a figure 8 or an infinity symbol. So here's how I did it. So that is like an 8, a figure 8, or if you look at it this way, horizontally, it is an infinity symbol. And after you do that, then the next steps will be, well, you know what, we don't need that middle line anymore. So here, you know, you can erase that center line because you really don't need it once you get the body down. And then you can draw these 2 lines at the top of the head that connect from the abdomen to the eyes. And then you're going to start on the wings. So the first thing I do is I do the first set of wings at the top. So the first set of wings are going to go right out on the top, like right about there. And I'm just going to draw, instead of drawing the whole complicated wing, I'm only going to draw these long oval elliptical shapes. So here's one. Here's the other one. And if they're not quite right, I can adjust them. Like I might want to make this one wider because that other one on the left is wider. Okay. There we go. Then after I do those top ones, I'm going to do bottom ones below it because dragonflies are really cool. They're kind of like the helicopters of bugs in the world. And they have like double the sets of wings. So the bottom set, they start out right below the other one. There is a gap. And it goes down just slightly. There's one. And there's the other one. Okay. So that's the start of it. You've gotten through the first steps, which is great. Now, after you've gotten this step, we're going to do the next step. So the next step, this is what you did here. I'm going to do the opposite wing and show you this part. So here you got the opposite wing right there that you did. And then we did the opposite, or the bottom half wing. And if it's not the same, oh, I made it way too big, wow. Then you can just erase your drawing and try to make it more even with the other side. And see, even I have to fix it. All right. So then once you get your 2 wings, you're going to draw these little curls on the tops of the wings to make them longer and shaped like the dragonfly. So it's almost like you're just putting another petal of a leaf or something on the tip of that wing that you drew earlier. Okay. And then on the bottom one, you're going to draw, here's my example here. On the bottom one, you're going to draw one that's extended there. Okay. So this one is going to go out and back. And you're going to do the same on both sides. Okay. Over here, it's going to go out and come back up. So that will look something like this. Let's finish this one. Oh, I can see. Now that I'm looking at it to see how even it is, I'm like, wow, I didn't make it very even, so I'm adjusting. You can adjust too, however you see fit, okay? I think this wing needs to be a little bit wider. And then the top wing, it comes out and extends it like an extra leaf or an extra petal on the end of that wing. So this is, now here's what you can shoot. This is the part that I think is cool. It's all about symmetry, Okay, and things that measure. If you like to measure things with a ruler and see if it's accurate, I do sometimes to see. So the top of the body, where from the tip of the eyes to the bottom of the tail, is about 3 inches. If I put my ruler in the middle of the body out here, the wings should be about 3 inches. They're a little bit shy. I could make them even wider. They could go all the way out here. Yep, I can make this one go all the way out here too. Okay, so the first set of wings that are in front, closest to the eyes of the dragonfly, those are as wide as the body is long from the body out. So you can adjust it if you want to. If you want to make the wings look very, to me, the wings when they're done, they look very over the top and see-through and iridescent and sparkly, and they have little veins inside the wings that make them look like little windows that remind me of stained glass, which I think is pretty awesome, that there are stained glass bugs out there, right? Okay, so here's what you do next. This is the part that's going to take the longest for you. You're going to draw veins in the wings. And I'm going to show you the first few steps, and then after the first few steps, the rest of it is random and up to you of how you want to do it. Okay? All right, so we have to do that. We also want to adjust their body. So before we get to the veins, draw some lines, which are segments of the base of the body to the tail. And then after you draw those lines, you take your pencil and you make the edges curve in. So I'm basically taking my pencil and I'm doing this. And I'm going to do it on both sides of where that line should be. This is going to make it look more three-dimensional too. Okay? So, what else are we missing before we get to the veins? Oh, the legs that they're in the front. They're really like arms at this point. So the first thing I do for the arms is I draw one line out here and one line out here. So they're about equal. Then I make it into a triangle, going back to the body. And after I make that triangle, I make a smaller thin triangle connecting to the first triangle. And guess what? I make a third tiny thin sliver of a triangle that connects to the next one. And that's how I make the arms. So there are 3 thin triangles going in towards the eyes. Okay? So now you got your eyes, you got your legs, you got your body. You can even brush up things or smooth things out with the body and make them look more rounded on each segment if you want to. Totally up to you if you want to do more shading. Okay. Now, if you don't want to do the shading and you just want to like get to the wings so you can paint them and color them with watercolors, that's the next step. All right. So I erase the lines on the inside of the wings that I connected those teardrop shapes or leaf shapes to each other. Okay. And then after I erase those lines, then I erased too much. There we go. Then I'm going to do some lines for veins. So the first lines that are easiest to do are the lines that are parallel with the top of the first set of wings. So here's the top of the wing. See, remember we did this? We did this part up here. We made it even longer. So now I'm going to start back here with the body, and I'm going to make a small parallel line that follows the top line, and 2 parallel lines if they stay parallel lines, they never connect. But I am going to connect it because it's become a vein, and this is going to go up here. So this little wing vein goes up there, and I'm going to do the opposite on the opposite wing at the same time, because if I do both of the top two wings together, like back and forth from left to right or from right to left, I won't forget what I'm doing. So there's my two veins at the tops of the two wings at the top. After that, you're going to do another. Okay, so we're going to do two sets like this, but this second one is going to be a tiny bit wider, not by much, and it's going to go like up to here, not all the way to the end. You're going to do it on both sides. Remember, we talked about do one side, then do the other side, so you do not forget where you are in your picture. Then after you do that, we're going to do a third row, but it's going to be way back here by their body. Okay, so here's their body. Here's the bottom of their wing. Now this one is going to go up here. It's just like a little sliver. Again, do it on the other side of the opposite wing. Okay, and now we're going to do the bottom two wings. Okay, so the bottom two wings with the start of the veins, we're going to do a line that goes from up here by the base of the body again. So this is the body right here. And we're going to do a line that goes at this corner right here where the wing meets the body. That's where we're going to start. And we're going to do an arc like that. Okay? And we're going to do that on both sides too. So I'm starting over here on the right side, and I have a line that goes out and down to make it a band that goes from the body back down to the bottom of that wing. It's like a stripe. Right now it looks like a stripe to me. Okay, so we've got those stripes. We're not done with stripes. We're going to make a couple more stripes. So again, this part though, but this stripe is going to start all the way over here on the line, not here, on the line. It's going to start in the middle, more towards the middle, and you're going to go out and down and out and down on the right side. And then after you do that, then you're going to make another partnered or paired line, parallel line that's going to go out and down. Okay. And the final line on the final part, on the very tip over here, you're just going to do one line going down. And over here, one line going down on the left side. You have the option if you want to. I'm going to go back and do it. You can put a tiny narrow vein at the top of the wing. You don't need to. I'm going to. It's extra. Just like I did a parallel line at the top here. Now I'm going to go and follow this line up here for the top of the wing. Okay, so that's what I did so far. And I'm going to do that vein over here too. Okay, so that was the start of it. The rest of it is more random. I'm going to show you on one set of one side of the wings, and then you can just do your own. All right. Okay, so the idea, if you look at these two, the idea is that there are a bunch of lines going down, 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 and curving, and they're parallel to each other from all these big lines that we've made. I think of them as like tree branches or veins. They're all going kind of down towards the bottom of the wing. So here's what I do. I take my pencil and I start on the left-hand side and I work my way to the right. So I'm making lines with my pencil, kind of like that. I'm just starting to make lines going from here, this line down. I'm not crossing over the line. I'm just starting from this line and going down. And from maybe in the middle of the wing where there's like a lot more room, I might do a kind of a crazy line that goes like this and becomes like a two-pronged fork. Okay. And then on the far right of this tip of this top wing, I might make a line that goes out like this, and it's a second two-pronged fork. So this will be like these are the big lines, and then I can make lines that parallel and follow from here to here. Okay, so let me just show you. There we go. And if you run out of room, it's really okay. You can make some of these lines thinner than others. Okay. The idea is that you're making a bunch of parallel lines going up and down in a kind of a curved, a soft curve shape. And then on the tip of the wing, I'm not doing lines all the way to the top. I'm just doing them on the edge. Like they don't meet with anything. Okay, so for the bottom wing, it's very similar to the top wing that I showed you. All right, so one thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add one long line going over here. And then for the rest of the lines, they're gonna follow and meet up with this vein. They're all going down. This actually kind of reminds me not just of veins, but when I say veins, I think like plants and trees and leaves when you look up close to them. But it also makes me think of like patterns, and it's kind of meditative when you just quietly do it. And it's okay if they are, some are thicker and wider than others. It's not gonna be bad. It's just gonna be its own organic shape. And that's the nice thing about bugs. They're organic. There's some symmetry, but there's also some randomness. Like these veins are not completely symmetrical. There's some things that are and some things that are not. Okay, so after you get your lines that are going this direction, here's where we're going. Our goal is to go to here, to this point. So first we did those lines going down, and now we're going to do lines that are almost like, oops, sorry, making a loud noise. I'm trying to get this close to you. We're doing lines that go back and forth, almost like tiny little window panes. And what we just did was this. So now we're going to draw lines going this direction. Okay, so this is up to you. You draw your little window panes however way you want to and what feels comfortable for you. Now what I will say is I try to make my window pane lines not mean up as much, because I'm trying not to make them all go the same way. It's not like a checkers board or a chessboard. So I'm trying to make some of the lines not touch the other lines. In other words, I'm gonna have a line right here and right here, but not there. Okay. That's a trick that I figured out because I wanted it to look like it was realistic, not like it was just a grid that I drew with a ruler over the whole wing. If you draw it like a grid over the whole wing, it could still look like a dragonfly, but a very basic drawn dragonfly that looks like it was drawn. It doesn't look as realistic. So if you want to go for a realistic dragonfly, you can do it this way. Okay, so after you get that done, guess what, guys? You're gonna paint it. So I am going to paint this one. And not only am I going to paint this one, actually, maybe I want to paint the other one. This one looks good too. I'm going to paint this one that doesn't have all the lines going different ways. And I'm just going to draw the lines on top of them later with a marker, because you can do that. You can use a Sharpie or a fine tip permanent marker and draw your lines with them on top of the paint or underneath the paint, either way, okay? So to paint, this is the fun part. Now I'm going to show you a couple things with painting because I did other bug drawing lessons previously, and some of my art kids that I teach at a local elementary and a middle school are drawing right now, and they've been looking at our bug drawings for practice at home, and they're painting them. This is just watercolor paints, but I'm going to show you how to do it with watercolors and oil pastels on two of these guys. We're going to do both. So oil pastels are kind of cool if you have them. You know, the other thing it does work is crayons. Crayons is made out of wax and pigment, and you can use crayons on top of a piece of paper first and then paint with your watercolors, which are water, on top, and wax will resist the water, so it's wax resist, and you'll still see the crayons showing through. Same thing applies for oil pastels because it's oil and water, right? They don't really mix, so you can still paint on top of them, okay? Now, what colors do I want to do? You know, I love blues and greens on dragonflies. I've seen them in blues and greens, sometimes a little bit of purple. I've also seen them look amber colored, like reddish and amber, which is really neat to see too. But I'm going to do this in blues and greens. So the first thing that I do is I outline the areas, and it's not going to be everywhere. I'm not coloring it all, but I'm going to outline some of the areas. Now, oh, and if I do it with the oil pastels, side note, if you use oil pastels or crayons, you can't draw on top of the wax crayon or on top of the oil pastel with your felt tip marker, okay? It won't work. So if I want this to have any of those lines I was just talking about that are going to show through, I have to go through. Oh, that one's dying. Let's try a different one that's not missing out on ink. I have to draw. Well, that one's missing out on ink too. Oh my gosh. Okay, try this micron one. I have to draw those lines now if I want them to show, because they will not show through the pastels. Or if they do show, they'll be faded, and I won't be able to draw on top with a marker because it will be covered in the pastel or in the crayon. So that's my tip for you. If you want to use the marker, do it before you paint and do it before you add color, whether it is oil pastel or crayons. Or if you want to just do watercolors, it's easier to draw everything out first before you add the color. Sometimes you can add markers on top, but guess what, guys? It may not show through as well. So I'm just going to draw with marker on half of this little guy so you can see what I mean, and then the other half I won't draw on with the marker at all, okay? And I'm using a permanent marker. There are markers that are not permanent, and if you use it, it could bleed and blend black with whatever color you got, okay? So you might want to test it. If you're not sure, test it on a scratch piece of paper. See if it bleeds with water droplet. You just put a little droplet of water on there and see if it does it. Okay, so I am almost ready because I'm not going to color all of this little guy. I'm just going to do a little bit with the marker here so you can see what I'm talking about. If you have inspiration and you want to do more bug drawings, I do have the other videos prior to today that are the beetle and the butterfly. They're nice drawings to try and do because if you can do a butterfly and a beetle, then you can do lots of other kinds of small creatures and insects. Okay, so there is a bonus to that. Okay. Looks like I'm just gonna stop. I'm gonna stop with this ink right here so I can show you. This is taking longer than I was hoping it would, but you know, I want you to see why it's different and why it's kind of cool. Okay. So, the other thing is wax crayons, and you probably remember using crayons when you were younger or in a previous art thing for painting with. There are white and there are clear crayons. If you use white or clear crayons on top of a color or a white piece of paper where there's white behind it, then no color from your paint of your watercolors will show through. Also, oh yeah, also the acrylic paints don't work the same as watercolors on top of the wax resist or the oil pastels. And tempera does work to a point, but you still have to know that it's not going to look the same. Okay. What else? Oh yeah, Crayola markers. A lot of us have Crayola markers in our homes, especially now when we're staying home and quarantining to stay healthy. And that's one of the reasons why I like doing these videos for you, so you can try to do some of these things on your own and be active and creative. So you might have Crayola markers from around the house and go, oh, I can just use these, right? This is a black marker. Test it. Test it before you use it to make sure that it is not going to bleed through when you put water on it. Okay, here we go. Got that one done. Now, the other key that I do when I paint, okay, we're going to go back to the color like I said. Oh, so here's the green. I am only going to put some green highlights in a few areas of the dragonfly's wing. And I'm going to do a little bit of blue of highlights. And I'm just going to do like a few dots of blue here and there. And then I'm going to stop. Okay. And you could do the same on your beetle. Oh my gosh. I loved drawing these beetles. If you think ladybugs are awesome or jewel beetles are awesome, then check this out. Drawing beetles is, I never thought I would enjoy drawing insects as much as I do now that I draw beetles, because they are so diverse. There's a huge number of them and different colors, shapes, and sizes. And when you start to draw the shape, it's really interesting to see how it comes together. Okay, so for this beetle, I am just gonna draw a few highlights with my Sharpie. The other thing about Sharpies, which is nice, is after you draw the Sharpie and before you put color on it, you can go back and you can erase any pencil marks so you don't see them anymore. You can't erase them very well after you put paint on them, because then the paint has covered your marks. So you've got to do the erasing when it's just drawing, not when there's paint. All right, so here is, he's so cute. Here's the beetle with just the marker. And that's why I did him. I'm doing him next to the dragonfly for you. So you can see the difference between putting marker on it by itself putting marker with the watercolors is another option, or using a resist method with oil pastels or with the crayons, which work the same. The oil pastels are a little bit more vivid. So here's the marker and the pencil, and this is all three. Now I'm going to paint them for you so you can see all that fun stuff. So I have a couple different paint palettes. This is just a basic Crayola watercolor palette that you can get. There's a few watercolor paints out there that are not as good as others. Crayola is pretty basic, pretty standard, and you can find all the colors you need for just the basics. This is an artist travel kit by Winsor & Newton that I got in an art store, which was more expensive, but it was an investment, and it's really clever because it comes with this paint kit that sits together in here. You can take it out, put some water inside it, and paint with it. The other tip that I have, tip, I can say it, is I use a spray bottle that's a mister. It's a really fine spray bottle to spray a tiny bit of water on top of my palette so they stay wet. Okay, so painting, any kind of paints that you use, I suggest this to everybody. Always start with the lightest color first. So if I want my Dragonfly to have yellow stripes anywhere on it, they have to be yellow first before I put any dark colors on them. I am going to put some dots of yellow in the wing because, like I was saying before, they're colorful wings that have tiny little grooves and veins and lines in them are like little tiny window panes or a stained glass painting, which I think is just really cool. That's one of the things, I think that's one of the reasons why people think dragonflies are kind of mystical and beautiful, and you know, that they transform too. The way that they change is really cool. Okay, so polka dotting color is good. You could also add layers and layers of color on it, but you want to use a small brush. The small brush that goes into the kit, I don't know where it went. Well, it's close to this. No, the small brush that goes in this kit is about this size, and this is a small enough brush that you should be able to just get paint on the tip to paint with it. All right, so I've got my yellow dots because I know there's going to be some shiny parts to this dragonfly that will be super bright in the sunshine. Then I'm going to rinse off my brush and I'm going to think about other colors. So I think I'm going to show you with the Crayola now, the Crayola palette. You can, I just sprayed it with water. The other method is just get your brush in the water and put water on each color of the palettes inside so that you know, oh, these are the colors that I want. See, I really want to use this purple. So I'm going to mix my brush with, that's wet. I'm making sure that it's pretty wet in there before I use it. Okay. I say that because oftentimes there are people that get excited and they have a dry paintbrush with hardly any color on it and nothing's coming onto their paper. Or they keep painting and painting, like, let me show you. They keep painting over and over and over, and they're like, oh, where did the color go? Well, you need to put some more color on that brush, honey. If you put more color on that brush and more water in the color, you got more color to spread around, okay? You can also, this is the other part that's fun about watercolors, you can put down water first, and then, so we're gonna let this guy dry for a minute. After, if I put water first on my beetle's back for their wings, I can put the water down first where I want it, inside that shape. Then I can take my brush, my handy dandy brush, and I can, ooh, what color do I want? I don't know. I'm gonna go back with purple. I can go and put a streak of color here and here and watch how the colors blend together. I'm gonna put blue on there too. and they will just blend together and mix on the paper, kind of like a sunset. So now you can see this is pretty vivid and colorful with the paper and just the black marker. Whereas this one isn't quite done. Let's see if we can get some more on here. Okay, so what do you think? Should we do, I know you can't really answer me, but I'm just thinking out loud. Should I do some blue now? I feel like I should do some blue. Okay, so there's yellow on here, which means anywhere that the yellow touches the blue, it may very well turn to green. The only way to prevent this is by waiting and letting it dry before I put the blue on there. Now I could also just do little polka dots like I was doing before. But it is turning into a wing, and the nice thing about this, now I painted a butterfly a few weeks ago. There's a lot more room to paint on that butterfly wing than there is on this dragonfly wing. So you're gonna need to do it in stages if you do the dragonfly. You could also make the dragonfly like twice as big as I made it and have way more room to paint with, which is cool. Like if you wanna do that, go for it. Okay folks, this is the entire lesson for the day of how to draw and paint a dragonfly or add layers of color with markers or pastels, oil pastels, or wax resist with crayons, which kind of look like this. And in the next show, when I do another drawing, I'll take out my crayons and show people how to do that too. Thank you so much for coming and joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed it, and please come back again. You're welcome to like, leave comments on the bottom, share, subscribe to my channel. The more people that subscribe to my channel, the more videos that I can put together and give you links and just make it easier and fun for everybody. That's why I'm doing this, so we can enjoy doing projects at home while we're trying to stay healthy. Okay, everybody, thank you again, and hopefully I'll see you again. Take care, be kind, and let's shine.